Welcome back to Protecting and Preserving Wealth. I'm John Gay. I'm joined by Jason Hosler, Bruce Hosler, and Alex Corey of Hosler Wealth Management. Always good to be with you guys.
Good morning, John.
Good to see you, John.
Hey, John.
All right, so today we're talking about maximizing Social Security benefits. These are key claiming strategies that are going to be so important as you reach this phase of your life. So let me start with a pretty basic question, guys. When is the right time to claim your benefits?
John, that is the question, and it cannot be answered easily because there are a lot of variabilities. People's health, their other financial situations. You know, if you don't have any other sources of income, you may be required to claim them earlier than you want to, but the right time needs to be considered and planned for, and we have Social Security actual planning calculators that give us all the options. And so it's important to think about how they maximize that if they can do that. You know, the other thing, Jason and Alex, and I think you can talk to our audience about this, you know, we run into people that they don't think they're going to live very long. We run into people that don't trust the government to pay the benefits.
One of the most interesting things I came across in some of my economic research was this story out of Romania. Now, Romania is a country that was under Soviet rule, and after the end of the Soviet Union and the liberalization of Eastern Europe, they had a lot of struggles, and specifically, you might recall the Romanian Revolution and how bloody that was and some of the awful things that went on in that country. Well, here we are 30 plus years later, and people in Romania are still receiving the same Soviet pensions that they were promised decades and decades ago. All of these decades after the Western liberalization occurred. Now,
Jason, you said 30 years ago. I think you mean longer than that.
Yeah, it is longer than that, more than that. So all of these years they've had to pay those pensions, and the reason is politically there's no government that could have formed there that would have been able to renegotiate completely those obligations. The entire society depended on those pensions to be able to plan for their future. And so while perhaps Social Security payouts might change in the future, maybe they change age-related rules, what I tell people who are worried about Social Security being there is that there is no way that any government in the United States could ever completely give up those obligations to its citizens. There's going to be some form of Social Security. What that form might be, we might not be able to predict for sure, but there's going to be some form. I'm very confident in the future.
Alex, what about these clients that, when we run some of the calculations, like the second kind of idea we had here was delaying until age 70 to get the maximum benefit. Some people, they're like, they don't think they're going to live that long, but we look at what health and AI is doing and everything like that, and we're looking at the clients and we're like, I don't know how you can think that, because they're probably going to live longer than that. To address that a little bit.
We want to really focus on, again, holistic financial planning, long-term planning. We believe that everyone should be planning for a 95 to 100 year, age in which you live. And when you put in that perspective, if you can afford to wait for taking benefits at age 70, you're going to be able to maximize your benefits to the highest guarantees you're going to get of any of your income sources. And once you hit the full retirement age, which is about 67 years old, your benefits are increasing every year by 8% guaranteed. I don't care who your money manager is, what they tell you. No one can give you that guarantee in terms of your investment returns in your portfolio. But the Social Security benefits are, again, those guaranteed rates that we want to lock in. And that creates longer term wealth for you and your family, depending on what your goals are. More guaranteed money is the key, because if we talk about our bucketing strategy a little bit, we want to make sure that you can always have 10 years worth of income at any one point in given time. This leads to the best results, and we'll talk about this later on. But when it comes to if you are married, making sure that your spouse who survives you will potentially get the biggest benefit, as they would assume your Social Security benefits sometime in the future.
See, I want to jump in here for a second, guys, because obviously everybody's individual circumstance is different, and there may be folks who are reasonably confident they're not going to live a long life, whatever their health situation may be. But I would say, what's worse? You outliving your money, or your money outliving you? And I think the worst would be you do live longer than you expected, and you lost out on some of these benefits because you claimed it too early.
And I want to clarify what Alex said. He's absolutely right. Between age 67 and 70, the benefit increases 8% a year. And you think, okay, well, so you've got those 3 years, that's 24% more. But really, by delaying, it's up to 124%. And here's the important stuff. It's not 1 year. It's every year for the rest of your life, and every year for the rest of the life of your spouse. And on top of that, it's inflation adjusted. So it's just not a rate of return. It's inflation adjusted. It's the largest public pension there is in the United States.
You touched on something just a moment ago I want to pull back up, because people get emotional about conversations about end of life and how long they're going to live. It's hard sometimes for people to think rationally about that. And so I have one client who comes to mind. He insists that there's no way he's going to live past 85. And so in all of our planning, he's had us adjust it down to show him living only to 85. Well, that's all fine. But what if he ends up living till 95? And so as planners, we're looking at that long term, and we're seeing in our clients, people losing weight with the peptides. We're seeing the population effects of this medical science changing how long people live. But I've also got, a client in his 60s with COPD that most likely isn't going to last more than a couple of years. It does vary between people, but people need to also recognize that the emotional connection to dying doesn't have to mean you make this decision based on fear.
That's such great insight, Jason. But I want to move on to how couples can plan together. And there's this whole idea of maybe one claims early and the other one delays till age 70, or maybe they wait and she claims at her full retirement age of 67 and he waits till 70. Or maybe if she was the higher wage earner, she's the one that waits till 70 and he claims earlier. Or maybe if they're like, we want the maximum amount, we want to both claim at 70. Alex, sometimes we run into these people, they don't trust the system at all. And we know, we've just heard the trustee report just came out in the last 2 weeks, that if the government does not make any changes, that Social Security recipients will lose 22% of their benefits in the fourth quarter of 2032. What is our firm belief about what's going to happen to these benefits? And we think it's kind of short-sighted for people to think. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not going to be any cut in benefits. There's likely some adjustment in benefits. But what's the other side of that, Alex, and why is that likely?
The other side of it's really the following, is that there's many levers that can be pulled by the government to continue to fill those coffers, to continue to pay out these claims for Social Security. They could increase the amount of your wages that are taxed for Social Security purposes. They could make us younger kids and working folks wait longer to take benefits in the future.
Thanks for calling us kids, by the way.
I know,
that.
right? Yeah, that's me too. But if you got all these folks that are voting every year, what politician out there is going to vote for cutting benefits and reducing benefits? The zero. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It's a very big issue. We have pretty much all baby boomers are now almost retired. So you have the biggest voting cohort out there. They will find a solution. It just takes some time and some massaging to figure this out. But from a prudent standpoint, I think you should think about, again, the potential of your benefits being cut in some way, shape, or form in your bigger picture. But our firm belief is still that benefits will still be there in one way, shape, or form.
I just received notice this morning that one of our longtime clients passed away yesterday.
Oh, sorry to hear.
And it saddens me because he was a great client for a couple of decades now. But I think about his dear sweet wife and coordinating benefits for spouses. This whole idea of having one spouse wait until age 70. Jason, talk about our planning. We feel like this is an important option. And usually we want to pick the spouse that was the higher earning spouse to wait to claim their benefits. Talk to our listeners about why that's so important.
Yeah, the spousal benefit is one of the most powerful features of Social Security because if you've been married to someone for more than 10 years, you can claim based off of their work history record. So even if you have your own work history record or no work history record with Social Security, if you've been married for 10 years to someone, then you can claim off their work record. And it's a hard cutoff. And we have actually seen that play out very poorly. I have a client in mind who was married for 9 years and 10 months.
No.
And was not, and her husband died and was not able to claim off his work record by 2 months that he died. Yeah, so it is a hard cliff within the law. But if you qualify for that benefit, it's very powerful because you're claiming off of their work record. So the higher earning spouse, generally in most situations, we're going to recommend that they delay claiming off of their work record for getting the maximum benefit at age 70. That way, the spouse with that highest earning work record has locked in the maximized benefit for both spouses for their lifetimes. So if the spouse with that work record passes away and spouse B, who is a lower payout from Social Security if they've already claimed, she steps up to that higher benefit. And as long as she's alive, she would continue to receive that higher benefit. You could still have both spouses delayed to maximize the benefit, but if you're wanting to, for cash flow reasons, for other reasons within a financial plan, have one of the spouses claim early, it's the larger one that's going to benefit both spouses more by delaying claiming off of their record.
It's funny that the 10 years is such a hard cutoff. It's reminding me of a conversation I had with my wife this morning where I stuck my foot in my mouth. I said, well, we've been married 10 years. She said, actually, we've been married 9. And I said, no, it just feels like 10. And,
No,
that was not my smartest moment of the week.
No, I hope you recovered from that. Alex, I want to cover for our listeners for a second, though. So in the case, let's say he's the higher earner and he passed away and his spouse has a lower benefit. What happens when he passes away? What happens to her benefit? And so the clients understand exactly how the mechanics of Social Security works when the first spouse passes.
If the first spouse passes away, Social Security takes a look at those benefits and says, who of the surviving spouse, who has the higher of the two benefits? And what happens is Social Security takes away the lower paying benefit to the surviving spouse, but the surviving spouse also maintains or earns the higher of those two payouts for the rest of their lives. That's as easy as you can have to think about it. So people don't ever want to lose the income source. So if you can maximize a 70, that possibility there, you're going to lock in your highest earning Social Security check for the rest of the surviving spouse's life. That's a big deal in the future when that first spouse passes away.
There's a couple of nuances I just want to cover that is kind of outside of our material, but I just want to remind our listeners about it. So if you have not claimed Social Security yet, you may not realize that when you turn 65, you can begin claiming Medicare. But what a lot of listeners may not know is that your Medicare premiums are withdrawn or deducted from your Social Security benefits. That affects your Social Security benefit because those Medicare premiums are withdrawn. And if your income goes too high and you're subject to IRMAA, income-related monthly adjustment amount, they adjust your Medicare premiums. That also comes off your Social Security. So if you're subject to a IRMAA penalty of $200, $300, $400 a month, then on top of your regular Medicare, that comes off your Social Security benefits. That can sometimes surprise a Social Security recipient when they have their Social Security on January. That first payment, it goes down a big chunk because they're subject to IRMAA. So people need to know that comes right off of your Social Security benefits.
Speaks to the importance of knowing the entire picture, Bruce.
Right.
Well, one thing I want to mention about that, knowing the bigger picture is what I've been working on with clients, especially those that are kind of getting antsy about taking Social Security, is I'm having them go download their most recent statement from the SSA.gov website. And what we're finding is that a lot of clients are actually they have more benefits than that we initially had planned for.
Yes.
And so that's a game changer because now they can see, hey, there's more money available for me. It still makes even more sense to wait than it even maybe 5 or 6 years ago when we ran the initial calculations. That's number one. Number two is if you're still working, no way, shape, or form should you even think about taking Social Security till you're finished. Because if you have in your highest earning years left, you may get bigger benefits in the future than you realize you're going to receive. So always be updating or looking at your updated numbers at least once every year or two.
Alex, it's funny you mentioned that, but with great minds think alike. As the three of you were talking, I actually opened up mine at ssa.gov, and I'm looking at what I'd get if I retired at 62, what I'd get per month if I retired at 67, and what I'd get if I waited till 70. And there is a large, large difference. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's really important to look at.
And it's every year for the rest of your life, John.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to cover a couple of things that are very important. We may have some listeners that may be in their 40s or 50s and they think, well, I don't need to go in and look at my statement.
Hey, I'm 45 and I just looked at it right now.
I want to encourage all of you, if you have not claimed your SSA.gov account, SSA.gov, you need to go on there and claim that, because if the bad guys go claim your account, if they have your information, they can claim it and you can't get in. So everybody needs to go to SSA.gov and claim their own account and have access to their Social Security portal. That's very important.
Just a note on that, just for our listeners, there is 2 logins available now through SSA.gov. They are integrating that with the new ID.me login. So if you've created that for another IRS website or other government service, that login is tied now through SSA.gov.
The other thing that I want them to think about is the mechanics of Social Security is they look at your top 35 earning years. And so Alex hit it on the top. If you're toward the end of your retirement and you're at your highest earning years, if you just work one more year, you may kick off a 0 or a very low on the back end earlier on in your career.
Yeah.
That big salary qualifies you for a bigger benefit. So you need to look at that math a little bit as well, because you have higher earnings and higher benefits because of those continuing years that you continue to work. Well, in closing up here, guys, we want to talk about creating a coordinated claiming strategy. Jason, is there anything that you want to share with our listeners on how we coordinate that and how we recommend that clients do that?
A Social Security claiming strategy really needs to be integrated with a full, comprehensive wealth management and financial plan, because you have to look at your health situation. You need to look at the rest of your financial situation and your income. You need to look at your earning histories. So you need to integrate it with a holistic approach to your entire financial plan, because there's different aspects of that plan that could affect how you claim. So I think that everyone needs to sit down with a professional to map out their foundational financial plan for their lives and find out how their Social Security strategy is going to integrate with that.
So Alex, in a final note, as the author of Moving to Tax-Free and as an office that specializes in tax-free income, we know and believe that Social Security can be tax-free if somebody has arranged all their other assets. Just address that topic for a second on the provisional income and what clients can do if they're wise on getting their other income into that tax-free bucket, how it can benefit their Social Security benefits.
When we figure out what your taxation is of your Social Security benefits are, like Bruce mentioned, we're talking about provisional income. So that's going to be wages, dividends, and interest, municipal bond interest even counts as provisional income. You say, well, muni bond interest is tax-free, Alex. Well, yes, it is. But for the calculation of your benefits, it's actually included in your provisional income. So you have to think about that, plus half of your Social Security benefits. And when they add all that up together, based on your single or married filing jointly, you fall into different brackets. Based on those brackets, 85% of your benefits could be taxable. So why we preach doing Roth conversions as part of our process and moving even taxable money to tax-free assets is that when you take a Roth IRA distribution from your Roth IRA, yes, it is tax-free, number one. Number two, it does not count towards your provisional income. That's a big, big deal that I don't think people really understand enough of that, because you want to maintain and retain as much of your Social Security benefits as possible to have a reduced tax drag or tax burden that's really hidden because you don't really feel it, but longer term, it does show up in your financial plan results.
So, folks, what I want to finish up here with is, if you have a few years that you're receiving Social Security, let's say from 65 to 70 or from 70 to 75, and you're still in your Roth conversion years before your RMDs, it's okay to have to pay some taxes on your Social Security, because if you get to tax-free, if you get all your IRAs converted and you move your other taxable money into a LERP, and now you're almost all tax-free. I had some poster card clients that were just in earlier this year, and we've got them moved across, and now they have a couple $100,000 of income a year, including their Social Security benefits, but they're not paying taxes on their Social Security benefits. Well, a married couple, if each of them are getting $35,000 a year, that could be $70,000 of Social Security benefits that could be 100% tax-free if you've repositioned all your other stuff. So we always want to be thinking about minimizing the taxes on our Social Security benefits. That will make your whole retirement last longer.
That's a great way to put a bow on it, Bruce. And one thing I'll add before we wrap up, we opened the conversation talking about age of claiming Social Security and life expectancy, which of course gears toward an older audience. But as I said a moment ago, I'm 45 and I just looked at it. And as Jason just said too, claim your ID and your benefits and your login on the website now. And if you haven't looked at it yet, you'll learn a lot about your work history and your expected Social Security income just by taking a quick spin through the website like I just did. So if anybody listening wants to talk to you guys about moving to tax-free, Social Security claiming, or anything related to their financial future, what are the best ways to find you?
Certainly on the web, hostlerwm.com. And in Prescott, Jason, how do they get to you?
Give me a call, 928-778-7666.
And Alex in Scottsdale?
480-994-7342.
Great stuff, guys. We'll talk again in a couple weeks.
Thank you,
Thanks, John.
Bye, John.
Financial wisdom compounds just like money. The more you learn, the more it works for you. If our information today brought you value, please subscribe, like, and keep growing with us. I'll see you in the next video.